In this week's video, I'm going to be going over how I go about doing inlays using the shaper origin. So whether you're looking to do something stabilizing like bow ties, if you're looking to fix a mistake, put in a plug in something that you may have messed up and you need to correct that problem, or if you're doing decorative inlays, this video is going to be helpful if you have a shaper origin or you're thinking about getting a shaper origin. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is come over here and we'll just start from the absolute beginning. Let's start a new scan. So we're going to scan the workspace. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to ensure that on this video you actually see the placement of the material. So I've scanned my workspace. Next thing I'm going to do, there's my material. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grid. And I'm going to do a new grid, and that's just to give me an idea here on the screen where my material is. It'll just help me place it. So I'm going to lower my bit, set the depth. I'm going to change the edge because I'm referencing off the top side. I'm going to come down until I just touch, probe once, probe a second time. Now come over to the left-hand side and probe, and just like that, here is my upper left-hand corner. So I did say that I'm going to do something very similar for this, simply because I don't want to make this video super long, and you can really apply anything that I'm talking about here to whatever the case is. It's really just to figure out how to get the male piece and the female piece, and then make sure that they have just enough space to have a nice tight fit. So now let's go to create. So I'm going to just do a rectangle. So I want to do a rectangle, and for this I'm going to go with 2 inches for the width, 2 inches for the height. For a radius we're going to do a 0.25 because I am using a 1/4 inch router bit, so I want to make sure that that radius matches, and I'll talk more about that towards the end of the video. We're going to go with the anchor point. I'm just going to go with the center. Right there is my square that I'm going to cut out, and I'm going to place it right here. So the first thing I want to mention is I personally always like to cut the male piece first, because I can take that male piece and make sure and do test fits into whatever I'm placing it into, and I can dial in the fit of the female portion to make sure that I get a really good fit. Me personally, I just find it easier to always cut the male piece first. So we can go back to here. I'm going to go to pilot, and that is something that I'll mention here. You'll see me everything that I'm doing in this video. I'm using Bench Pilot. I have a video talking about Bench Pilot when it was released. This thing is wonderful because it allows me to do other things while it's cutting stuff out, but mainly because I'm doing the female portion and I'm going to have to do like a big pocket, and so instead of standing there and cutting everything out, I'll just let Bench Pilot do it for me. You don't have to have Bench Pilot to do this. So if I go here and I want to set some of the settings, so we have the depth, where we're going to do the cut, whatever offset, whatever size the bit is, and Z-touch, and some speed. So let's start at the top, okay? I know that this material is 1/2 inch thick. I'm going to go 0.51. I just barely want it to break through. I don't want it to cut into the spoil board a ton. So we're going to go 0.51. That's already set. Hit done. Now here, we are going to do an outside cut. So there you can see it's going to cut on the external portion. You will see that it's going to do it in 4 passes. Okay, so each one of these is going to cut a little bit more, so it's going to go a 1/4 inch deep each time. If I wanted to increase it, I could increase it, and it's going to bring down the amount of depth that it goes. And you know what, let's just do 5. It'll automatically calculate based on what you're doing and the bit size. We'll just go 5 just so I can show you the change. We are not going to do a single offset, okay? We are not going to do an offset for the male piece. For my bit size, 1/4 inch, that's good. I'll go ahead and Z-touch now just to show you. That should be part of your process if it's the first time you're doing it because you just installed a new bit. You want to make sure you're getting a good habit of doing that. So from here, it is ready to go. All we have to do is start the machine and make the cut. So I've got my male piece cut. I can go ahead and pry this off. This is just a small pry bar that's really, really nice for this. And if I want, I can take a little mallet and break it free with the double-sided tape. So I have my male piece right here, and I'm just checking to make sure that the cut quality and everything is good. Now the next step will be cutting the pocket that this is going to fit into, and I'm going to show you exactly how I get a really good fit and share a couple of pointers that I have to make sure you get a really nice tight fit with the glue and everything looks really clean when it's done. All right, I've got my new piece. This is 3/4 inch thick material, just replicating whatever my piece is that this is going to be going into. And it's contrasting wood just for the visibility of this video. And typically that's usually what people are doing when they're doing inlays, is they're trying to bring some sort of contrast to that. So this is going to go right here. We're just going to cut it right in the center of this piece. So that's taped down. Now let's get back into the steps for this. Now if I go back to design, not only do you see my existing piece and my existing cut there, I'm going to leave that there for just a moment. I am going to remove the cut path. But one thing that I want to highlight here is you see the old piece of material there. Doesn't really matter, don't need to rescan. What I can do is I can create a new grid. If you want something visual, this is what I would recommend. So we're going to go with the edge, the correct edge. I'm going to hit there, there, and there. So you'll see that it changed the upper corner, right? Now, if I wanted to get this absolutely in the center, then I would do a probe and probe it as a rectangle, and it would give me the exact shape. But again, this is just a demonstration, so we don't really need to go that far. Now, what I can do here is I can copy this. So this shape is now copied. We're just going to place it right there. That should be pretty dang close to the center, maybe not perfect. And then if I wanted to, I can remove the existing one. So here is my new square that I need to cut a pocket for. If I go here to pilot, this is where I'm going to input all this data. First thing we're going to do is change the depth. So it's 3/4 inch thick material. I don't want this to go all the way to be perfectly flush. You could do that because the accuracy of this machine is pretty remarkable, but I never do. I always have it protrude just a little bit. So I'm going to do 0.48 inch. So that's going to leave just a little bit sticking up over the top once we get it fit. And then from there, I can either use a hand plane, I can use my sander, I can use a chisel, whatever the case is, depending on the application, to get everything nice and smooth. Now we're going to go here, and instead of doing an inside cut, we're going to do a pocket. Okay? So we're going to be removing all of the material inside of this, creating a pocket. I'm not going to do an offset yet. 1/4 inch, same bit. I always like to get in a habit. I Z-touch a lot If I'm doing a bunch of the same thing over and over again, I typically won't, but anytime I change anything, I'm Z-touching. It's just a good habit to get into. It literally takes a second. All right, so from there, I'm gonna go to Preview Cuts. Now this Preview Cuts option is only something with BenchPilot, if I remember correctly. It's just giving you an opportunity because I can make 15 cuts if I wanted to. So what I mean by that is if I wanted to place multiple squares on here and cut all of them at the same time, Preview Cuts, that's where it would come into play. So I know everything is good to go. I can start the cut, turn on my machine. Now this is the spot where I think it would be easy to mess up. And the reason why I said I like to do the male and then the female, I'm gonna leave the female version where it is. Now again, this could be on your workstation. If let's say I was using plate to do this and I was doing it handheld, I would leave plate where it was while I was doing my test fit because then everything stays the same, nothing changes. It's just there and you don't make the mistake of trying to fine tune the fit and getting it exactly where it needs to go. Now, let me vacuum this out real quick. Now, spoiler alert, it's not gonna fit. And I'll bring you in closer for this portion. Now, when I come to put this in, it's the exact same size. So the fit is not going to work, right? We need to have some sort of offset. Even if this would slide in absolutely perfectly. I mean, I'm sure I could probably bash it in with a hammer, but to get this to fit and allow room for glue, we're gonna need to do an offset, okay? Now you could do this from the get-go, but I'm purposely showing you on here that it doesn't fit and how you would go about adjusting that. So now let's walk through that. Now our depth is not gonna change, but our cut is going to change. So now we're gonna transition to an inside cut because we don't need to remove all of the pocket material again. Now, here is where I'm gonna do my offset. So, here's what I've found. I have found that 15 thousandths of an inch gives you a really good fit. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit minus 0.01, cancel. Let's do that again. We're gonna go 0.015, and let's see if you'll be able to see this. Watch the blue part. It's gonna move just ever so slightly. I'm gonna go minus. Not sure if you were able to see that, but essentially what it's doing is it's bumping out that cut just a little bit. From here, I can go Preview Cuts, and now it's gonna make the cut for me, only on the inside, pushing it slightly out. So let's turn on the machine and start again. And now we can test the fit. Okay, so it is inserted in and I can let it go and it's going to stay by itself. You don't want it to be too incredibly tight because obviously you're going to add some glue. But then here you will see that it sits ever so slightly above the surface. So then I can take it down and get it perfectly flush to the surface. Now this might be a little bit challenging to get out. Might need my knife just to prop this up just a bit. So that's what we're looking for. 15 thousandths of an inch. And you might have to play with it just a little bit to see if it's gonna work, but that's what I'm looking for it to just kind of sit on its own. What I don't want is I don't want to let this go and it just falls right in, because once I push this down, you're going to end up seeing these really big gaps that won't get filled. So if you have a little bit of resistance, it's really good. You want a little bit of protrusion, sand that down smooth, and just like that, you can get really, really good results using the origin to do some inlays. So that is how you do inlays with this. Now there are certain scenarios where it's a little bit more challenging. One of those challenges is letters. And I'm sure you could probably already figure this out in terms of inlaying letters, but a lot of it depends on what bit you have, how sharp the corners are, because the pockets typically are going to be the part that is a little bit easier. But anytime you have like really, really sharp 90-degree corners, it can be really hard to match those up, right? So the type of inlay that you're doing will really dictate the ability or the amount of cleanup that you're gonna have to do utilizing other tools. What I have found this really handy for is specifically a few instances where I screwed something up and made a mistake on a project and I needed to patch it and I needed it to look as close to invisible as possible. This has been a lifesaver for instances like that, because guess what? I do make mistakes, right? I know a lot of people think that, the YouTube woodworkers are all experts and they never make mistakes. Well, that couldn't be further from the truth. Now, these videos are designed to help people like me when I first got the machine. I'm still very green when it comes to origin. There's a lot of people out there that know how to do really cool, fancy stuff, Shaper being one of them, right? They have all these wonderful videos out there. But I think what's lacking in the origin side of things is making videos like this that are just really simple hand-holding tutorials on how to do very basic tasks. And I think it's really helpful for people who have a machine, are thinking about getting a machine, or just looking to start utilizing the machine to its capabilities a little bit further. And so that's the purpose of this video and this demonstration. So if you like this style of video, please let me know down in the comments section below so I can continue making these. They typically don't do great, on the broad scale, but I don't really care, right? I just want to make videos that are answering people's questions and helping people. So that's going to do it for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.